Today is June 4th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are going to be beginning Chapter 8, Two Wives, by reading pages 104 and 105. Out of the personal stories, we're going to continue our journey through Listening to the Wind by reading page 461. And out of the 12 and 12, we are going to continue our journey, through tradition number 7, page 161. So with that, my friends, hope you're doing well today. Hey, life is good. We've been given a brand new set of 24 hours, and it's up to us today who we decide to be. And let's get to the good stuff. Chapter 8, Two Wives. With few exceptions, our book thus far has spoken of men. But what we have said applies quite as much to women. Our activities in behalf of women who drink are on the increase. There is every evidence that women regain their health as readily as men if they try our suggestions. But for every man who drinks, others are involved. The wife who trembles in fear of the next debauch. The mother and father who see their son wasting away. Among us are wives, relatives, and friends whose problem has been solved, as well as some who have not yet found a happy solution. We want the wives of Alcoholics Anonymous to address the wives of men who drink too much. What they say will apply to nearly everyone bound by ties of blood or affection to an alcoholic. As wives of Alcoholics Anonymous, we'd like you to feel that we understand as perhaps few can. We want to analyze mistakes that we have made. We want to leave you with the feeling that no situation is too difficult and no unhappiness too great to be overcome. We have traveled a rocky road, and there is no mistake about that. We have had long rendezvous with hurt pride, frustration, self-pity, misunderstanding, and fear. These are not pleasant companions. We have been driven to maudlin sympathy, to bitter resentment. Some of us veered from extreme to extreme, ever hoping that one day our loved ones would be themselves once more. Our loyalty and the desire that our husbands hold up their heads and be like other men have begotten all sorts of predicaments. We've been unselfish and self-sacrificing. We have told innumerable lies to protect our pride and our husbands' reputations. We've prayed. We have begged. We've been patient. We have struck out viciously. We've run away. We've been hysterical. We've been terror-stricken. We have sought sympathy, and we have had retaliatory love affairs with other men. Our homes have been battlegrounds many an evening. In the morning we have kissed and made up. Our friends have counseled chucking the men, and we've done so with finality, only to be back in a little while hoping, always hoping. Our men sworn great solemn oaths that they were through with drinking forever. We believed them when no one else could or would. Then, in days, weeks, or months, a fresh outburst. We seldom had friends at our homes, never knowing how or when the men of the house would appear. We could make few social engagements. We came to live almost alone. When we were invited out, our husbands sneaked so many drinks that they spoiled the occasion. If, on the other hand, they took nothing, their self-pity made them killjoys. There was never financial security. Positions were always in jeopardy or gone. An armored car would not have brought the pay envelopes home. The checking account melted like snow in June. Okay, so some pretty tragic stuff here. Maybe the spouses of alcoholics can relate to a lot of what's said here. You know, thank God that there's a fellowship now called Al-Anon, which gives so much support to those who are very closely tied to those in alcoholism, whether you're married or related to someone who's suffering from the disease. And there's wonderful support groups out there all around the world now, thank God. But back then, it was seldom to come by, finding a support group like that. But anyways, we'll go ahead and move on to the personal stories real fast. So our friend here in Listening to the Wind, she's had a rough life. Ran away from home very early, has turned to prostitution to pay the bills and has drunk to bury the shame and the guilt of her profession. Serves some jail time, nearly gets beaten to death, serves some jail time, comes out, meets another Native American who she ends up conceiving a son with, but they don't stay together. She once again kind of returns to her old profession to pay the bills, and she's living a double life. So imagine the intense focus and pressure it is to hide that double life from everybody else. You know, she's returned to prostitution by night, and she's a mama by day, taking care of her child. She finally meets somebody that she loves, and she's, you know, swearing that she's in the CIA and all these things. She's not doing what she's doing. And it says right here at the top of 462, now maybe he would stop asking so many questions, but instead he proposed. So we are going to be reading the first two paragraphs. I apologize, I said 461. I'm a little bit ahead of the game. We're going to read the first half of 462. We moved in together, and my working arrangements became nearly impossible to live with. So did my conscience. One night on my way to work, I sat in rush hour traffic on the freeway. I broke down in tears and felt all the lies of my life burst open inside of me. I hated myself, and I wanted to die. I couldn't tell him the truth, but I couldn't continue to lie to him either. Suddenly, a great light came on. It was the best idea I ever had. I got off the freeway at the next ramp, drove home, and told him I got fired. He took it well, and we celebrated with a huge bottle of wine. It took a lot of booze to cover the nightmares of my past, but I was sure that I could get around this small problem before long. I never did. The relationship broke up over my drinking, and I packed my little car and moved myself, my son, our dog, and 3 cats to the mountains. So once again, we see here that this relationship has been broken. Once again, my heart just breaks for I'll come back to this in just a minute. And finally, out of the 12 and 12, we're on tradition number 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. So with that, my friends, we are on page 161. Alcoholics are certainly all or nothing people. Our reactions to money prove this. As AA emerged from its infancy into adolescence, we swung from the idea that we needed vast sums of money to the notion that AA shouldn't have any. On every lip were the words, "You can't mix AA and money. We shall have to separate the spiritual from the material." We took this violent new tack because here and there members had tried to make money out of their AA connections, and we feared we'd be exploited. Now and then, grateful benefactors had endowed clubhouses, and as a result, there was sometimes outside interference in our affairs. We'd been presented with a hospital, and almost immediately the donor's son became its principal patient and would-be manager. One AA group was given $5,000 to do what it would. The hassle over that chunk of money played havoc for years. Frightened by these complications, some groups refused to have a cent in their treasuries. Despite these misgivings, we had to recognize the fact that AA had to function. Meeting places cost something. To save whole areas from turmoil, small offices had to be set up, telephones installed, and a few full-time secretaries hired. Over many protests, these things were accomplished. We saw that if they weren't, the man coming in the door couldn't get a break. These simple services would require small sums of money which could and would pay for ourselves. At last, the pendulum stopped swinging and pointed straight at Tradition 7 as it reads today. All right, so once again, unfortunately, sometimes there is overhead that needs to be paid, to have these meetings, and but I think what the difference is, there's practicality and there's excessiveness, and maybe some people were trying to make a career out of AA, and once again, right here, thank God, Tradition number 7 was written. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. And, going back to that personal story one more time, My heart goes out to this woman. One day she's crying. She realizes she can't do this anymore. This kind of relates to the chapter 2 wives as well, you know. Only in this case, she is the alcoholic and her would-be husband has no idea about her career and about her struggles with alcohol. And so far, I don't even know if our narrator has had that idea yet. Because when she finally gets the idea, you know what, I'll tell him I got fired. They go home to celebrate with a bottle of wine. Or it's hitting around that this relationship didn't last. And it's really unclear whether it's because of the alcohol or not, but we can maybe make that assumption. But going back to just holding in all those lies. Has anyone else ever lied during their alcoholism? I know I have. And trying to cover up lies with lies and the guilt and shame with alcohol, it just makes things so much worse. And when I'm drinking, I make more poor, selfish decisions. It's just this downward spiral that eventually, it's not sustainable. Once again, kind of going back to step 1, my life had become unmanageable. You know, just thinking about some of those, all I can say is, thank God that I am sober today. You know, if nothing else goes right today, I'm sober today. I don't have to live in that guilt and that shame and that remorse anymore. Sobriety for me has equaled freedom. Thank God. And if you are sober today, my friends, you're a miracle as well. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, or any other sect denomination. I'm just a guy, just a friend in this lifeboat of recovery, and grateful that you're here with me. My friends, if we are given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.